الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون، ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون، ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم، ولا يناله غوص الفطن. الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود، ولا نعت موجود، ولا وقت معدود، ولا أجل ممدود. فطر الخلائق بقدرته، ونشر الرياح برحمته، ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرضه. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، سيدنا الممجد، بشيرنا المصدق، نذيرنا المؤيد، المصطفى الأمجد، محمود الأحمد، الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد، وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، الذين قال عنهم الرسول: اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم، ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم، وسلم لمن سالمهم، وعدو لمن عاداهم، ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس، وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم ومبغضيهم، وغاصب حقوقهم، ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم، من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى لقاء يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الحسين، وعلى علي بن الحسين، وعلى أولاد الحسين، وعلى أصحاب الحسين. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين، صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. During the discussions of the last 4 evenings, we wish to continue with the same subject in trying to explain the reasons for a human being to understand the purpose of his creation, for him to be able to understand the true message of Islam, so that he may be able to then pave way towards this perfect society, towards the utopia that is a vision of Quran given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The state of utopia mentioned to you in my last night's lecture was the state where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will establish all of us on earth just like He established those before us. He will make it possible for us to follow the religion of Islam and the religion with which He is pleased. He will also cause the state of affairs to change, where the fear from the hearts of the people will disappear and will be replaced with security and peace. The state of the affairs then will be that each and every one of us will worship none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, And that was the verse that I recited before you. So this is the vision of Quran. This is the vision Quran has given to you and I. As far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is concerned, it is not difficult for him to bring this state of utopia by a click of a finger. All he needs to do is to say kun fayakun. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَن يَقُولَ لَهُ كُن فَيَكُونَ. The command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is such that should he decide to say something to be, it will become. So as far as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned, he could have done it, and there was no need to bring this verse of Quran for you and I to read it. For Allah is the one who created this universe. For Allah is the one who created anything and everything that you and I see. For him to do that was never difficult. However, the purpose of expressing the vision, the purpose of telling us of the vision, the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to place it in the Quran is to show that collectively you and I will have to make positive contributions to be able to achieve and realize that state of utopia. We will not be able to realize that state of utopia until and unless you and I are able to make positive contributions to pave way for our Imam alayhi salatu wasalam to make his reappearance, insha'Allah ta'ala. And this will happen, insha'Allah ta'ala. It will happen whether you and I live to see it or we do not see it. For every time, in every era, people have made their contributions. People have charted or paved the way for the next generation to take over. Now it is our turn, our responsibility to make our contribution so that we can realize the state of utopia, or generations after us will realize the state of utopia, inshallah. The important aspect in all this is to be able to understand the true message of Islam. It is to be able to understand the fundamental message given to us by the Holy Prophet of Islam. It is for us to know in the context of the era in which we live what type of contributions we can make, and not rely on contributions of the people of the past only. For this is our era. You know, there is a poet by the name of Manzar Bhopali. In his poetry, he says, "Keh do Mir o Ghalib se, hum bhi sher kehte hain." Mir and Ghalib were two great poets of the time, of the past era. He says, "Keh do Mir o Ghalib se, hum bhi sher kehte hain." He acknowledges that Mir and Ghalib were good poets. They have made their contributions in the world of poetry. They have done those positive contributions, but now he is saying to them, "Keh do Mir o Ghalib se, hum bhi sher kehte hain." Tell Mir and Ghalib that even we today write poetry. "Wo sadi tumhari thi, ye sadi hamari hai." Those days were yours. These days are ours. We need to make those positive contributions. We need to be able to understand what is required of us to be able to then plant the seeds for the next generations to take over where we leave from. Therefore, this state of utopia will be realized, and I will come back to this state of utopia during my lectures in the next few days left that we have. All that I wish to talk about this evening is to understand the true Islam in our era, in our context, so that we do not end up being like those who pray, but at the same time have hypocrisy in them. Those who pray, but at the same time cannot recognize the grandson of the Holy Prophet of Islam. Those who fast, but do not understand the fundamental principles of Islam. And therefore, we do not want to end up in that area. Ours is a responsibility to understand Islam in the context of the era in which you and I live. Quran is a living book. Quran talks about everything and anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious book, He says, وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا. There is no leaf that falls from the tree, the knowledge of which is not possessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ. And there is no grain in the darkness of the earth that Allah has no knowledge of. He has knowledge of each and every grain. وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. Every dry or wet thing that you can imagine is all encompassed and enveloped in this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a book that lived for the people of the era of the past. It is a book that lives for me today. It is the book that will live for the people then. And therefore, to extract information from this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very important for you and I to understand in our era as to what our responsibilities are. Let me give you one or two examples. What is our understanding of Islam? And how do we understand Islam? The most fundamental issue or a prerequisite of understanding anything is to be able to take that information, process it intellectually, and then arrive at a conclusion. Therefore, the greatest gift given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is intellect. This is the greatest gift that He did not give to anyone else. The Holy Prophet of Islam says, the Holy Prophet of Islam says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَصَّ الْمَلَكِ بِالْعَقْلِ دُونَ الشَّهْوَةِ وَالْغَضَبِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the angels the power of intellect, but did not give the angels the power of anger and the power of passion and desire. So if you look at the angel today, if you can imagine the angel, Allah has granted the angel intellect and aql, but He has not given the angel the power of anger or the power of desire. Therefore, if an angel was to see something that would normally be desirable by you and I, that angel will have no desire for it whatsoever. And then the Holy Prophet of Islam says, وَخَصَّ الْحَيَوَانَاتِ بِهِمَا دُونَهُ. And He gave the angels the power of passion and desire, and He gave them the power of anger. But He did not give the animals the power of intellect. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَخَصَّ الْحَيْوَانِ وَشَرَّفَ الْإِنسَانَ بِإِعْطَاءِ الْجَمِيعِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored man by giving him all these powers in one. In all these powers, the most important power granted to man is the power of intellect. Through this intellect, this man is able to travel from the known unto the unknown. And through this intellect, man is able to travel from the unknown into the known. Man is able to analyze anything placed before him. Man is able to synthesize anything placed before him. For that is the greatest honor that Allah has given to man. If man does not utilize his intellect, he may be called a man, but does not possess the qualities of man. He may be called insan, but does not have the attributes of insan. You know, how does an insan, or how is an insan born? A poet says in Urdu, mat sahel hame jano, phirta hai falak barson. Oh my darling, don't massage me here and there. Mat sahel hame jano, phirta hai falak barson. The world has to rotate years and years, centuries and centuries. Tab khak ke parde se insan nikalta hai. Only then a human being is born. A human being who uses his potential. A human being who has the power of, or the ability of analyzing, or the ability of synthesizing. The intellect that he uses is the most fundamental gift and the
beautiful gift given by him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to man. Now, what is the function of this intellect in understanding Islam? That is what I want to speak about right now, because we do not want to end up with being Muslims, but with a dichotomy in our conduct. We do not want to be called mu'min while we are not mu'min. We do not want to end up in the ranks of the hypocrites and the munafiqeens while we say La ilaha illallah with our tongues. So, intellect is one of the most important issues that needs to be understood. When you look at the creation of man, you will see that if you can imagine a pyramid before you, a pyramid, at the bottom of this pyramid is placed the world of the inanimate objects. Okay, just imagine with me a pyramid. At the bottom of this pyramid is the world of the inanimate objects, rocks and mountains and whatever you want to call as inanimate objects. So at the bottom, the function is that of the inanimate object. What do? They occupy space. They have no potential of growth. Right? The inanimate object occupies space in the world and has no function whatsoever and has no potential of growth. That's an inanimate object. Above that is the world of vegetation, occupying space, no potential of real growth. Above that is the world of inanimate objects, then the world of vegetation. Now the third one is the world of animals. What is the difference is the animals also occupy space. They have no potential of intellectual growth, but what they have extra is that they have a freedom of movement. That is an animal. Then comes a human being. Human being sits at the helm, at the top, at the apex of this pyramid. He, as a human being, is concerned. He occupies space. He has a potential of real growth in him. He has a freedom of movement because he is the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, known as Ashraful Makhluq. The best of the creation of Allah is the human being. He sits right at the helm, at the apex, at the peak. That is why again a poet says to man, "Tu shahi hai, basera kar pahadon ki chatanon par." You are an eagle. You must remain up there. You must not allow yourself to come down because your position is that of an eagle. Tu shahi hai, basera kar pahadon ki chatanon par. Now, at that apex, at that point, as far as a human being is concerned, with the intellect that he has, he needs to understand the function of his intellect. He is the best of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashraful Makhluq. I just want to ask you a question to raise or to provoke thought in you. In this pyramid that I have mentioned, the world of vegetation, the world of animal, the world of inanimate objects, and the world of a human being. If I was to tell you to place Jannat in one of these categories, where would you place Jannat? It is for you to go home and think about it. If I was to tell you to place Jannat in one of these four categories, because these are the only creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either it is the world of angels, the world of animals, the world of vegetation, inanimate objects, insan. Where would you place Jannat in this pyramid? Would you place it in the inanimate object? Would you place it in the world of vegetation? Would you place it in the world of animals? Would you place it in the world of insan? Where would you place Jannat in this pyramid? Wherever you place it, you go and ask yourself this question. I am not answering. But wherever you will place it, you will know that it is still a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True? Animals are creation of Allah. Angels are creation of Allah. Jannat is whose creation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jahannam is whose creation? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that you see is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In all His creation, Ashraful Makhluq, the best of the creation, is a human being. True? In all this, including Jannat, the best of the creation is a human being. Just so that you can provoke your thoughts back at home, I pose another question. How can a man who is better in creation than a Jannat desire Jannat? How can a man who in his creation is superior to paradise, is superior to all creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how does he desire this paradise which is lower in status than him? Go home inshallah ta'ala and think about it. Every time you say وَأَدْخِلْنِ الْجَنَّةَ بِرَحْمَتِكَ يَا أَرْحَمَ الرَّاحِمِينَ, enter me in paradise with your mercy, O the most merciful. Which paradise are you talking about? The paradise which has hur in it? Huh? Well, it is there, hur is there, I am not denying. But is that the paradise that I have in my mind, that I want to go to? Think about it, just to provoke your thoughts. Is that the paradise, so that we raise our intellectual ability and understanding? Which paradise do I want to enter? The paradise which has hur in it? The paradise which has apples in it? The paradise which has milk streams in it? The paradise which has gardens in it? The paradise which is full of palm trees? The paradise in which you desire a grape, it is there on your lip. That's what the paradise, the concept of paradise that I have in my mind is, when I will desire a grape, it will be there. When I will desire a hur, it will be there. When I will desire the milk, it will be there. Whatever I will desire, because I deserve paradise, whatever I desire, it will be there. Is that the paradise? My fellow brothers and sisters, assuming that I am placed in this paradise today. Let's assume that you are placed in this paradise today. Now you are in the paradise. You have asked for a grape, it's there. You have asked for water, it's there. You have asked for sharaban tahura, it is there. You have asked for kawthar, it is there. Whatever you ask for, it is there. No mortgage, no tension of mortgage, no economic crisis, no heart attack, no disease, no diabetes, no problem. You are now in Jannat, enjoying anything and everything. My fellow brothers, in English they say familiarity breeds contempt. How long will you remain in this Jannat? How long? Eternally, right? That is my mind. I shall remain in this Jannat eternally. I will be there forever in this Jannat. What will you do? Every day eat grapes? Think about it. Go home and think about the mind that we have, the concept of Jannat that we have, the concept of Allah that we have as Muslims, the concept of Jahannam that we have as Muslims. What is it? Is it a true concept? What will you do? Eat grapes every day? Sleep every day? No school, dropping kids, nothing. No problem at all. What will we do? Just sleep? Just look at the beauty of Jannat every day? Is that the concept we have? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Imam Zainul Abidin salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Please go home and think about all that I have mentioned to you, for I will not say everything from the mimbar. You need to exercise this intellect of yours as well as me, so that we are able to understand the true concept of Islam. Go and think about the questions that I have raised before you today. Our fourth Imam alayhi salatu wassalam, in one of his supplications, tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my Lord, if you place me in the pits of the fire of hell, but you are there with me, that will be my paradise. My Lord, if you place me in the pits of the fire of hell, I will shout out to the inhabitants of the fire of hell that I still love you. That is my understanding of you, my Lord. And if I am placed in the middle of the paradise myself, if I am there in the middle, in the best places of paradise, the paradise that I have imagined, not the real paradise, the paradise that I have imagined, but I do not have the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what meaning will that paradise have to me? What meaning will that paradise have to me? Therefore, it is imperative for you and I to understand the importance of our intellect as a function for us to be able to realize the true meaning of Islam. 3 loud salawats, please.